Earnest Perry is a lifelong resident of Baxter County. He served as maintenance supervisor for the Mountain Home School System for 38 years. This is his story. Describe Mountain Home as you remember it during those early years.
Well, Mountain Home had not very much around the square, and an old courthouse, and the streets was just old rough streets.
Dirt?
No, there was brick.
Brick?
Yep, brick. And then
Did they have a lot of automobiles in?
didn't have any.
I was going to say, yeah, that would be pre-auto, wouldn't it?
They didn't have no.
So you had brick streets for horse-drawn carriages and
Yeah,
such.
well, that horses, they always had them tied over there where Livingston's grocery store used to be. They had some trees out there. That's where everybody'd meet to tie their horses up. They'd come into town in the wagon. That's the way we come into town a lot of the time. Dad'd bring us into town on Saturdays in the wagon. And that's when there's about, let's see, there's about 6 or 7 of us kids at home then.
Wow.
And we'd all get in that wagon, we'd just put a quilt in the back end of it, and we'd ride that, and Dad and Ma'd sat in the spring seat. And they'd tie the old mules up to the trees over there, and they'd do their little dab of shopping. And then when we got the shopping done, well, if you had a dime, you could go to the show, but if you didn't have a dime, you couldn't go.
Do you remember the name of the theater?
Blevins, Evans owned it. I can't think of the boy's name at first.
It was on the square?
It was on the square, right below where Cooper's drugstore used to be.
Okay, yeah, I'd heard about that even before, because I don't remember back any further than Morgan Theater. But
Morgan was on the other side. Of
and
yeah.
that was after.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about was the original movie theater.
Yeah, this was Evans. He moved it in. They had a little eating joint and a beer joint there. Betsy Wolf had a beer joint on the other side of the street by Morgan's on the other side.
So did he have Angler's Cafe at that time? Or was it called?
It wasn't. I don't think he called it Angler's Cafe.
It was whatever the precursor of Angler's Cafe was.
That's the one it was. It turned to be. Yeah.
And it was a bar too.
Yep. He had some beer in there.
So the county was wet.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. I don't believe the county was wet when he first had that cafe over there, but when he moved again on up the street, yeah, it did go wet.
Yeah, okay.
This county was dry for 40 years before
Yes.
it got anything in it.
Huh. So, all right. So you're a teenager and you're living in Mountain Home and going to school there. And how did your dad manage for the family with 11 kids?
Well, my dad was he was a horse trader. He would trade. He had work, and he had his blacksmith shop, and I'd go up there on Saturdays to help him work on Saturdays when I'd be out of school. And I'd turn that old blower all day on Saturday for him to fit up horseshoes and fix wagon wheels and put them on the cars and all that. And old Alan Britt, if he had a horse he was bad to hold and me and the mule would kick him holding something, he put a twister on his nose, on his ear. He'd twist the ear, and he'd take his nose, he'd twist his nose, and then he'd take his mouth and get one of them ears in his mouth, and he'd bite. When that mule would try to kick Dad, he'd twist that twister and bite that ear, and the mule wouldn't kick him.
Really?
Yeah, that's the way he shot him.
So that's kind of how you tamed a wild mule.
That's the way Dad's father shot him.
What did you have a lot of livestock on your farm?
We had mules, we had cattle. When we moved from Mountain Home to North Fork, we had 30 head of cattle, and we come up the old Arcana Road, and we was all day getting them to the house. I'm getting from where we lived down there, from North Fork to where we bought there, right across the road from where I live now. And what happened? The little calves you give it out on us get hard. Some of them had little baby calves, and we had 5 or 6 horses, and we'd pick up a calf and carry it in their saddle till it got to feeling better and could go on a little further, and then we'd pick up another and let that one walk a little way.
Really?
We would that's back in the days when people had barn builders, and they really was right there to heck me.
So the whole community would turn out
They're right there at Hickman.
and they'd pitch in, they'd build a barn in a day or a weekend or
They
something.
cut poles and built Dad a barn down there and put his horses
Really?
in 2 days.
And did they ever take any payment
No way. All the pay they ever got was Ma'd fix a big dinner for them.
for it? Really?
Yep.
So it was neighborhood in the real sense.
And if when she got ready to fix that big dinner for them, the Willette women would come over and help her fix the dinner for them.
Really?
Yep, they all worked together.
How many would be turned out for something like this?
Well, sometimes they'd have 25 or 30 men there.
Really?
Yeah, they had.
So and with their wives and kids and
There's a bunch of them.
huh.
Everybody had plenty to eat too.
Well,
When we lived at North Fork down there, the government, they'd come along. We farmed that Earnest farm across the river there from the old ferry at North Fork. That river farm, we farmed that up through there. And we had a few cattle. I think my dad didn't have over 25 or 30 head of stock cattle. And what the government do, they'd come along and they'd you got too many cows, you know, and they would put a tag on it. Well, we'll give you $5 for this cow, or $2 for this calf. You know, great big fat calf, $2, and the cow's $5 and $6.
Now who the government's giving you $2?
They're buying that.
Okay.
They bought us bus to cut our cow herd down.
Okay.
And they took them over to North Fork, and they had a big pen on the railroad track there, pinned off there, and they dumped them cows all into there, and there would be a man sat on the fence. He sat on the fence when they got the pen full, and he shoot them with a 22 and kill them. And then they take them down to Old Moxon, by Old Joe, and they had a place down there to burn them. And I've seen people over there that wanted, poor people needed some meat.
Food, yeah.
They would ask for them fat calves that was off of their mothers, you know. But you know, they wouldn't let them have them. No way. And then besides that, when the way they done the cattle that way, they done that. And if you was a farming, you had a field of cotton. And they would count off 5 rows here. You have to plow these 5 rows up, and you're allowed 10. Plow up 5 rows, and you're allowed 10. They marked them, and they come back to inspect them to see.
Make sure you didn't do all of them.
We plowed up just what they said plow up. They paid some little bit of money, not enough for nothing.
So they paid a pittance to keep from having a surplus of a certain.
There wasn't no
item.
surplus. They wasn't going to let be no surplus. But what a lot of people would just beg for them calves, it was fat to eat for the families, but they wouldn't let them have them. They wasn't allowed to give them to them.
When was this? Was this
Oh, that was back in the 30s.
in the 30s?
Yeah.
So this was just after the Great Depression,
Yeah, sure was.
when people were really destitute and really didn't have anything
They didn't
at all.
have nothing. Yes, sir.
Did it impress you in any way, the difference between what life was like here when this was just rivers flowing through, and then did it go through some kind of a change when they flooded all this floodplain and made it into a lake? I mean,
Yeah, well, the people seemed like that they really didn't know what they was going to do because it covered up so many good river farms, you know.
a lot of people got flooded out, in other words?
Yeah, they got.
Did the government pay them for that?
Well, they paid them a little, not
Yeah.
very much.
Not, yeah.
It's about like buying them cattle. They didn't pay nothing for the cattle. The government didn't.
What did you do for recreation when you had any free time? What would be the thing that y'all would
Well,
do?
we would just all the youngsters. The only recreation we had was we just got together and all but walk. We just walked.
Take what, like hiking?
Hike? Yeah, we just all take off. If somebody had a party over here one night, maybe 2 miles from your house, there'd be a whole bunch of us just get together and walk down the road. Just a dirt road. One time we was going to a party down there and we had just trees that growed up on the side of the road. And I was kind of mischievous. I mean, I'd try to pull things on people, you know, and had a lot of fun doing it. But I took my wallet one night, and it was moonshiny night, and there's a whole bunch of them coming along down the road. and I took a piece of fine wire and tied on my wallet and laid it out in the middle of the road. And I laid it down in the middle of the road with that wire tied on it. And here they come along and, oh, hey, something. Yeah, I found a wallet, you know. And they started to get that wallet. I started pulling that thing to me. I hid in the bushes over there. I started pulling it to me. And they started, I scared them all, they all run back.
I'll bet
Now,
so.
one of them ran off, they couldn't figure out what they never did figure out what happened. I never did tell them. And that one night, I had no white shirt on and old raggedy breeches and moonshiny night, and I had a lot of fun that night too. I used to do a lot of this kind of stuff. And them trees, you get one about that big around, you know, them old cinnamon trees right close to the road, you get to the top of it and just ride it over.
Really?
And they'd come up through that, a whole bunch of them, and I'd let them get as close to me as that walnut tree out there, and I'd ride the thing over, and I'd come right down the middle of the road. And maybe you think that much didn't run off.
Wow.
Now that's pretty dirty to do that, but I've done a lot of that kind of stuff.
No, that's what we call good, clean fun.
That's the kind of fun we had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it was a different time, wasn't it?
at different times.
Yeah.
At different times.